When I picked up The Lightning Thief as an adult, I thought I knew exactly what I was getting into once again. The goofy mythology, the fun quests, and the childhood nostalgia. But a few chapters in, I realized my memory of this book was completely wrong. Under all the humor, there's surprisingly a raw story about identity, feeling broken, and discovering the things that make you too much might actually be your greatest strength. In this video, I want to talk about and show you the version of Percy Jackson I never saw as a kid. The story I remember as a fun, fast paced adventure is actually surprisingly a deep look into fear, identity, and what it means to be a hero when you're just a scared kid. I'm Zach, and I want to welcome you all to the Literary Tailor, where we have great books and even better conversations. So today, let's break down why. When we first meet Percy Jackson, he's just this 12-year-old boy living in this giant city that is New York City. And from the start, we know he's not normal. Sure, he has ADHD, dyslexia, and he has this tendency of always getting in trouble and getting expelled from school. However, we know that what's inside his blood is what makes him different because he shares blood with his God. He's then transported into a new world where he must accept his new identity. And it's at this new world that's called Camp Half Blood is where his journey officially begins. As we continue to follow Percy as he accepts his new identity, he's once again thrown into a new world wherein he's accused of stealing the lightning bolt from his uncle Zeus. And it's through these chain of events where Percy has to find and return the lightning bolt to Zeus in order to stop a war between the gods. And it's through these stories that it felt nostalgia because it showed how much I loved Greek mythology, and to see it once again on page made me feel more nostalgia than ever. As I continued to read this book, it hit me why I like this book so much, still as an adult. Flying through each page, each chapter revealed another monster, from the classic Minotaur to my favorite, Medusa. Also, to read Percy's sarcastic quips kept me smiling and chuckling, as the world building ability shown by the author was spot on as well. It just was a perfect escape in the end. One of the reasons why I picked this book back up as an adult because I craved that nostalgia feeling. I wanted a break from heavy emotional content in favor of a more nostalgia feeling, and the lightning bolt delivered because with each line that I read felt like a memory for me. I also connected with Percy as I felt like an outcast myself, even to this day, whether it be from my own anxiety or my past alcohol use. I felt like I was the problem, and this is where I connected with Percy a lot. As I continue to finish the book and finally think about it once I finished, I had to think about it as I do with all my books. As a kid, I saw Percy's quirks, his ADHD and dyslexia, as something unique and different that makes him different from other characters. And as an adult, I can relate this even more because I can start to accept my own quirks, my own identity, if you will. Because the story never treats Percy's problems, his quirks, as an issue. In fact, the story allows Percy's quirks to be his strength. And that's the major thing I took away from this book, is where we should treat our identity, no matter what, as our biggest strength. It's through Percy's quirks, where we see our own quirks, that we can refine them from weakness to our superpower. It's our superpower that shows that we're not broken, not at all. We're actually more unique than we think. And this hits harder when we don't value or we don't see our struggles as a weakness, but we embrace them even more. What made this story work for me even more, as an adult, is how Greek mythology was woven into modern America. From Olympus being in the 600th floor in New York City, all the way to the underworld where Hades resides in LA studios. What this book did for me in the end was highlight my love for ancient Greek even more. Down to its core, what Lightning Thief is really about is identity. It's about a kid who doesn't know where he belongs, as he's labeled a troublemaker and a bad student. It asks, what if you're not broken, just in the wrong world? And this identity issue hits harder when you think about it, if you ever felt out of place of your own. Another key pillar to this channel is this idea of fear. On the surface of the Lightning Thief, Percy is afraid of the monsters trying to kill him, a reasonable fear. However, it's the deeper fear that we should recognize, because the deeper fear for Percy is this idea of not being a screw up again. He's afraid, once again, of disappointing everybody in his life once again. And he starts to question this as he fears that he's not good enough for this journey that he has to take. And he goes against his fear and succeeds anyway. Another key pillar is this idea of hope. And for the Lightning Thief, hope is about finding the one person in the world that sees you and doesn't leave, and they accept you for who you are. Maybe you're not the problem. You just haven't found your place in the world. This is what the Lightning Thief asks. Another key pillar of this channel is this idea of courage. The biggest courage, isn't the fights. The real courage is telling the truth when it costs you, no matter what. And trusting when no. As a kid, seeing the gods themselves was very cool as well. From Zeus, Ares, from all the gods in between, the gods were just awesome and powerful forces in the book that provided more tension as well. However, as an adult, I can see the gods as flawed human beings or flawed beings. And honestly, they're terrible parents as well. And it's these gods, at least the three brothers, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, that hold the most pride as well jealousy, and they provide the most tension in the story. And it's this tension that falls on the Percy's laps that he has to fix. Another thing that stood out for me was how Percy had to almost grow up a lot, because he has to become more of the adult in order to fix his own family's problems, including finding the bolt and cleaning up other gods' mess. Did you see the gods differently when you reread this? If you enjoy this, like and consider subscribing. As I reread this as an adult, it felt good to once again read a book like this nostalgia feeling in my heart. Just to be able to visit this childhood home and find a secret room once again inside this book. But the fun adventures still there, and surprisingly, this idea of maturity within the pages as well. The main takeaways I took from this book was accepting yourself no matter what, no matter your flaws, and realizing that those flaws that each of us have is our biggest strength. And this idea of courage to stand up in a world full of flawed people. And also that quiet heroism is what also is important as well. As I continued to reflect on this book long after I finished it, I had to question myself. Did the book change, or did I did? The answer is I did, because this new layer of identity had formed from the moment I read it as a child to as an adult as I am today. The Lightning Thief isn't just a great book, it's a great book overall that grows with you as well. So, What childhood favorites have you read or reread and you saw differently? I'm Zach, and this is the Literary Tailor, where we have great books and even better conversations. Until then, guys, happy reading.